Hear me? Let me welcome, first of all, our citizens of the county. Thank you for coming out tonight and joining us. Happy New Year to you. And this is your county, this is your court, and we're glad you're here. Again, so appreciative of you and your support for me and our county and the members here. Also, at this point, would like to welcome our elected officials here. And congratulations to you and your races, in particular to our new justices of peace, Justice Keeklak and Justice Lloyd. Welcome. And then I think we have our news media here. We welcome you guys and our staff. Thank you guys for being out here this morning, or this evening. Justice Lundstrom, will you kick us off with a prayer and pledge?
You'll join me in prayer. Our precious Heavenly Father, as we embark upon a new year, I would ask your blessing upon all of our elected officials in the county, all of the county employees, and your special blessing tonight, Father, on Judge Wood as he takes reins of the county as chief executive. Ask that you'd bless him. Ask that you'd superintend all of our meetings this year. Guide us and direct us. Give us the wisdom to direct the people's money in the best way that we possibly can, and give them the best of services as we proceed. And we ask these things tonight in Christ's name and for his sake. Amen.
Yes, amen, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice Lundstrom, thank you very much, Justice. Appreciate that. First item, number 4 on our agenda, we have the adoption of the agenda. Roll call. Oh, where's Ms. Carly? Ms. Carly, will you take roll call, please?
Daniel Balls. Here. Harvey Bowman. Here. Rick Cochran. Here. Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke. Here. Ann Harbison. Joe Kiklak.
Here.
Roddy Lloyd.
Here.
Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Here. Joe Maxwell. Joe Patterson. Here. Butch Pond. Here. Bill Ussery. Here.
Excellent. And we did get a note from Justice Madison that she would not be here. Anyone else? Okay. Item number 4, the adoption of the agenda. It's been moved properly second. Any questions? We did have an addition on there. You guys should have got the change on 9-4. That should have been in your packet, and then we had a 9-4, which was changing the personnel meeting from February to January 20th. 9-4. And then the other revision was 15-1. So we have a motion or entertain a motion for the revised agenda.
Yes, I move that we accept the revised agenda.
Okay. It's been moved and properly second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we have our agenda. Justice Madison, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. There are, I think, about 5 ordinances on the agenda tonight, and I would move that we suspend the rules and read them by title only. Thank you.
So we have a motion to suspend the, to read suspend the rules, and it's been seconded. Ms. Carly, can we do a roll call?
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Yes. Ann Harbison. Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Yes. Joe Maxwell. Joe Patterson. Yes. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes. Motion carries.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for our citizens of the county to come and visit with us, and you have 3 minutes, and we will ask that you come up to the front, state your name and your address. What's your name?
Somebody needs to turn
Judge,
that
my
mic
name is Jeff Hatley. I'm the Public Information Officer for, oh, I'm sorry. How do I turn that?
Push that one.
Oh, okay. And I'm not-
Repeat it again, Mr.
I'm not tech savvy. My name is Jeff Hatley. I'm the Public Information Officer for Ozark Regional Transit, and I actually don't live in Washington County. I live in Benton County. But as most of you know, we had a fire on January 10th, destroyed 85% of our fleet, and I just wanted to give the court a update on where we stand with that. Joel, our executive director, got on the phone and started sending out emails 4 o'clock in the morning, all nationwide, literally, from New Jersey to Arizona. And we have, by the generosity of many other transit systems, including a church in Greenland, Arkansas, we have restored 14 buses on site, and we have restored most of the routes that we were servicing 9 days ago. One exception to that is one small route in Springdale, but wanted the court to know that we reestablished Route 620, which this court funds. We restored that as of yesterday. We're, of course, working with the investigators. They're still trying to figure out the cause of the fire, and then we will eventually file an insurance claim and get some permanent buses. But in the meantime, we've got 14 on site. That's not 14 on the road because they have to go through a maintenance inspection, and come to find out some of the buses we received, the wheelchair lifts don't work, so we can't use them. We're going to get 8 more from DART down in Dallas, Dallas area regional rapid transit. And so we will have those on site late Saturday night. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I also want to make sure that I know with the change in leadership that I know Karen Beeks was supposed to let us know when a committee was meeting to talk about the Route 620, and we just want to make sure that we're still in the loop for being part of that discussion. My understanding was it was going to be early February, but I think the council's or the court's deciding tonight on when committees were meeting and all that.
That's correct. Justice Zeki, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Mr. Hatley, we're so sorry that that happened to you. It was devastating, just seeing it on the news and reading about it. When do you expect the investigation to be complete on the cause of the fire?
Well, I happened to be in earshot of the fire marshal when a reporter was asking him that, and he said that most of his investigations take as little as a week, but as much as multiple months. And he feels like this is going to be one of those that's multiple months, simply because we get our funding from federal, state, local, and everybody's going to want to have their own independent investigation. There's several different manufacturers of the buses. They're going to have their investigation. They're going to bring in diesel engineers. They're going to bring in electrical engineers, structural engineers. So there's going to be a lot of people that's going to have their hand in it, and getting all that to one consensus ruling on what caused the fire is probably going to take a while.
A follow-up question. How can we help and how can the citizens help?
You know, that's one thing, it restores my faith in humanity
That's
the last
great.
week, because I've heard that so many times. How can we help? I mean, people are, you know, do y'all have like a GoFundMe account or something? And, you know, of course we don't. But I would just say, just continue to be patient with us as we try to restore services. And we will get the routes going, and then we'll get more frequency back into it. And then we will, of course, restore the bicycle racks and the free Wi-Fi and things like that. So we just ask for patience and understanding. And then when the dust clears and we've got our fleet restored, we ask people to ride the bus.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Thank you, Mr. Hatley.
Justice Bowman.
Thank you for coming tonight and giving us an explanation. You know, since I live in Springdale, it's real close, so I went out the next day to take a look at it and talk to Joel for a minute. And it was really an ugly sight. I'm telling you, it's really, I guess in retrospect, parking the buses that close together, is that going to be a practice you're going to continue? Because it looks like that was really a devastating event, even though it may be a once-in-a-lifetime kind of deal. Any thoughts about how to prevent future occurrences?
I'm sure that the fire marshal's report is going to address things like that, and of course, we will abide by whatever the fire marshal says. The reason why they were parked underneath the bus canopy is for obvious reason. They had a carport, for lack of a better term, to protect it from hail damage and,
Sure.
and just weather
Makes
type of
sense.
things. But it's kind of like in Pearl Harbor, they kind of consolidated the planes together and they made them an easy target too, but they did that so they could guard it against sabotage. So you're kind of,
Well, I also talked to the HR lady, and it was just amazing to me. She said some of the drivers that had a lot of time and tenure allowed other people who really desperately needed to work, that the older employees took vacation time to allow those people that desperately needed the income to go ahead and work in their place. She teared up and cried, sharing about that experience, about how cohesive the team is out there, and I thought that was really a compliment to the organization.
I wish y'all could have been at the meeting we had with our drivers, and I'm going to try to get through this too. Because they're the ones that were looking at suffering, losing their job. And all they could think about was, how can we help? And that touched me, obviously.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate the update.
All right,
And
thank you.
we will follow up and make sure we get the meeting, as we work through the organizational structure tonight, we'll come back and make sure you know when you'll be on
Great.
the schedule.
Thank you.
All right. Any other, there we go. Any other comments, citizen comments? Okay. Okay. Ms. Sonny?
This is still on, right? My name is Lorraine O'Neill. I'm a citizen of Fayetteville, and I just wanted to say thank you, Judge, for stepping up and running for the post of Judge of Washington County, and I think you're going to do a fine job to represent the citizens in the coming next, ever how long your term is, I'm not sure, but thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Should I turn it off?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to the line item number 6, approval of minutes from our December meeting.
I'd like to adopt them. I did read the minutes, excuse me, Mr. Judge, and I move to approve the minutes.
It's been moved and properly second. Any corrections, any discussion?
Other
Go
than
ahead.
grammatical here and there, but
Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I want to express my appreciation to J.B. Ecke for reading them because I didn't have time and I was going to abstain.
I
but
thought about you.
Thank you. I'm counting on you. I will be happy to vote for the motion. Thank you, Judge.
It's been moved properly second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Item number 7. Looks like we have the county attorney. Go ahead and take that one.
Thank you, Judge. I have provided, excuse me, I provided a couple of packets for all the JPs that, if you didn't get one, Carly's got them. One was the packet on the Freedom of Information Act, just so you would have, if you have any questions about that. It's kind of a really good rundown of the Freedom of Information Act in Arkansas. It's got some good cases. The gist of the Freedom of Information, as you all know, Arkansas is real strong in getting information out. If it doesn't meet those certain exceptions that are listed by the statutes, then it is open to the public, just like our meetings. But I'm sure that most of you have been through that. If anybody has any questions at any time, feel free to give me a call, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. The other packet that I gave you was the legislative powers and procedures, just for you to have for your notes. Just kind of talks about the powers and procedures of the Quorum Court. I just thought that may be helpful if you ever have any questions. I'd also put a table of contents on the front for you to hopefully get to where you're looking pretty quickly. I think the only other few things is, clearly we operate for the new members under Robert's Rules of Order. Please wait for the judge to acknowledge you to speak. We have the 15 minutes before the meeting for the public to come and share, and then also before any resolution or ordinance is passed. We also have time for the public to come and share as well. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that. And Carly over here puts together our agendas, and if you need something in the agenda, it needs to be submitted a week before?
The Friday before
The Friday
the meet of the
before.
meeting.
Okay, the Friday before. If not, then we have to revise the agenda if there's some sort of change. That's all I have, and like I said, any questions you have on any of that stuff at any time, or have questions about a procedure in general, can we do this, can't we do that, by all means, let me know, and I'll let you know. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Counselor. And again, at any point in time, and he is very, very well prepared to help you out. So thank you very much. Item number 8, we have Justice Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. By title, this 8.1 is an emergency ordinance amending ordinance 2015-64, creating a finance and budget committee. This is a emergency ordinance, so it will require 10 votes to pass. I move to pass 8.1.
Second.
It's been moved properly second. Do we have this? Oh, you're going to go ahead. You're going to go ahead and do.
An emergency ordinance amending ordinance number 2015-64, creating a finance and budget committee.
Go ahead, Justice Bowman.
I'd like to recommend Rick Cochran for our chairman.
After we had to get through the committees first. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. This may be out of order, but I thought chairpersons were generally chosen at the first committee meeting.
That's correct. It's an organizational piece. We got to get the committees first. Justice Bowman is a little excited.
Okay.
So we have the emergency on the table. We need to see if we're going to get that adopted. We need a motion.
Motion to approve 9.8.
It's been moved properly second. Any discussions? Public comments? Okay, we'll do a vote. Ms. Carly, will you do a roll call?
Daniel Balls? Yes. Harvey Bowman? Yes. Rick Cochran? Yes. Robert Dennis? Yes. Lisa Ecke? Yes. Ann Harbison? Joe Kiklak?
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Sue Madison? Yes. Joel Maxwell? Joe Patterson? Yes. Butch Pond? Yes. Bill Ussery? Yes. This motion is passed.
Excellent. Thank you. Item number 9, review of the...
Mr. Judge, if this is an emergency, doesn't it have to be read 3 times? No? Emergency ordinance?
Only the main ordinance.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Item number 9, we'll move to the next item. Item number 9, review of the Quorum Court Committee. Yes, sure. Ms. Judge
JP
Becky.
The difference is on an emergency ordinance, it requires a 2/3 carry,
That's right.
but not the 3 readings.
Got it?
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 9 is the review of the Quorum Court Committee assignments. You should have in your packet a list of all those Quorum Court committees. I think that's item 9.1 in your packet, 9.1. I think we got that out to you. I sent that out to you guys in the first part of December. And so pretty much we have the committees there. We have the County Services, Public Works, Personnel, the jail, law enforcement, and courts, as well as the ordinance review, and now with the emergency to add the finance and budget. The dates have been established as a working guideline, but after you have your first meeting, you can go ahead and reestablish dates if you need to. But we just needed something to get us going. So having said that, again, entertain a motion to accept the committees and the initial dates.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. We will need to have, okay, so we can do a voice vote. All in favor? Oh, let me pull back. We had a question here, Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. On 9.1, we just passed an ordinance to create the Finance and Budget Committee, but it is struck through. So is there some place that the membership, I know at one point there was an email from you saying that it would be all members on Finance and Budget. Is that in any document here tonight?
Well, we had to pass the emergency first.
To create it
and
first.
And so in our next pack, we'll have that in there. We had
Gotcha.
to pass it. So.
Okay, thank you.
So we had a motion. It's been passed. Second. All in favor? Oh, we do a roll call on this one, right? No. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, we got it. Item 10, selection of representatives to serve on the Arkansas Association of Counties. We need to have someone who is going to, from your court, who will serve as a representative for the Quorum Court there. Justice Madison, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. JP Eva Madison has done that job for several terms now and doesn't seem to mind driving to Little Rock. So I would move that we reappoint Justice Eva Madison.
It's been moved and seconded, and from a point of discussion, I did receive an email from Justice Madison, and she did note that she has been serving and would love to serve again if her fellow justices would so do it.
Judge,
Cochran.
I move nominations cease, and we elect Eve Madison by acclamation.
All right, so it's done. It's been moved, second, and approved by acclamation. So we got Justice Eva Madison, who will be your representative down in Little Rock at the Association of Arkansas Counties. Item number 11, Treasurer Hill. There he is. How are you, sir?
Doing fine. Thank you,
Excellent.
Mr. Judge.
Excellent.
Good evening, everybody. 11.1. This is just the monthly, the December report, but I'd like to talk just a little bit about the year in general. In 2016, our property taxes were up about $850,000 over 2015. Likewise, sales taxes for general road and jail were up also over $800,000 over 2015. So that's $1.6 million in growth in those two revenues alone. It's the main reason that countywide for all of our funds, we began the year at $34 million and we ended the year at over $35 million. So anytime you have growth, it's good. The general fund alone, we started the year at 12.8, ended the year at 12.7, so about 100,000 difference, but considering where we've been the last few years, that was great also. It's the best we've done since 2010, I believe. All right, 11.2 and 11.3, 1 cent sales tax and the jail tax, they were both up for the year over 4.5%. Almost, like I said before, 800,000 if you add them together, up over the year prior. And I see no reason to think that this won't continue if you see all the building and stuff around here. 11.4, road tax. It was up over 4% as well. 11.5, Nelson's insurance report. We began the year at 1.8 million, or began the month, December 1.8, ended the month at 1.7 million. And that's all I have. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Treasurer Hill. Appreciate it. Item number 12, Prosecuting Attorney Durrett. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about
Outstanding,
yourself?
outstanding. Good to see you.
You too. Okay, in your packet, 12.1, that is the end-of-year report on the activity in our hot check fee account fund. It's pretty self-explanatory. It shows beginning balance, ending balance, and the expenses, but if anyone has any questions on the specifics of anything, I'd be happy to answer anything anybody's got.
Are we doing better? Are we up and down? What's going on?
Hot checks are slowing down dramatically. Obviously, fewer merchants are accepting checks, so therefore we're getting fewer checks in. We're still paying out in terms of the collections and victim restitutions collected and paid out. I don't have the exact figures. I've got them up in my office, but it's in excess of 100,000, but under 200,000, which is from when I started back 18 years ago. It's fallen dramatically, but and it's nowhere near our collections for victim restitution. But that's just I think that's just based on the fact that fewer merchants are taking checks. There were some merchants that didn't take checks, a few of them that didn't take checks 20 years ago. Now it seems like there are just a few of them that take them now. So more people are going to debit cards or cash only. So, but we're still collecting them when they come in. We're still prosecuting them. We're still getting money back to merchants who have been ripped off.
Justice Cochran.
I move to accept Prosecutor Thurrett's annual report.
And I don't know if that's I don't know if that has to be actually, it's just a report, just giving us updates. So, but again, any other comments, any other justices?
All right.
All right,
Thank you very much.
appreciate you. Thank you
All right,
very
thank you.
much. Okay, we'll move on to item number 13, and that is the judge's report. You have with you a list of board appointments that I'm asking for and approval of our county attorney. They have the Planning Board, the Rural Development Authority, the Washington Water Authority, and the Washington Regional Medical Center directors. And the names are there, 4 individuals for the Planning Board, 2 there for the Rural Washington County, Washington Water, and then I think just 1 there at the Washington Regional, Mr. Woody Bassett going back as his board. So get a chance to look through that, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve the
I make a motion we
board
approve
appointments.
as drafted.
Move as drafted, the board appointments, as well as the appointment of our county attorney. It's been moved and properly second. Is that a question, boss? Any questions? Sure. Justice
I got
Balls.
a question. Our county ordinance states that the quorum court removes the county attorney, and we never removed our previous county attorney. So I'm just kind of wondering where we stand with that. If we approve Mr. Lester, what happens in that situation as far as us following our county ordinances? It's actually County Ordinance Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 11, Section 2-72A. County attorney is nominated by the county judge and approved by the quorum court. And the county attorney shall be removed by a majority vote of the quorum court who shall seek advice of the county judge. I'm just wondering where we would sit in that situation by not following that ordinance if we did approve Mr. Lester tonight. Thank you.
Sure.
The previous county attorney wasn't removed from office. The removal from office would be if something inappropriate happened in the county attorney before his or her term ended. The previous county attorney was not rehired, which is also allowed pursuant to the ordinance and is also in the employee handbook. So there was no termination, and that's what the quorum court would have to approve at the suggestion of the county judge. At the biennium of every year, at the end of every even year, the newly elected, and I've talked a lot to the media about this, doesn't have to be a new county judge, but the newly elected, because at this point they're elected every 2 years. That ordinance will have to change after this term when they go to 4 years. The county judge has the authority not to rehire any county employees that the county judge doesn't want to, and Judge Wood did not rehire Mr. Zaga. And so the ordinance also states that the county judge will hire and choose a county attorney, and then we'll get the approval of the quorum court. So it doesn't have anything to do with Mr. Zaga. He wasn't terminated. He was not rehired.
Go ahead, Justice Balls.
So do we have competing ordinances within our employee handbook and with our ordinances of saying, this says here that we remove the county judge, but I understand because I've read those ordinances of saying the new judge can elect or can hire who he wants to and all those positions go. So I guess I'm confused on what ordinance takes precedent over, because it sounds like we have 2 competing ordinances going on right here.
Well, it would really come down to the reading of the ordinance. I mean, removal is taking someone who is in an office and removing them. Not rehiring someone whose contract is up is not a removal of office. Anybody with a contract, if their contract's not renewed at the end of the term of the contract ends. And so it wasn't a removal. So one talks about removal from office. And like I said, an example would be if something had happened and the county attorney during that term needed to be removed, the county judge doesn't have the authority just to remove the county or fire the county attorney. the quorum court, the judge has to ask the quorum court to do so.
Other questions? Just a second.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I am conflicted about this because I remember when Mr. Zaga had to go through the interview process before I joined the court, and the court had to approve his hiring and his salary, and it was at the authority of the quorum court, even though I wasn't on it. I was a member of the audience during that time and watching the process. Number one, are we going to go through that process with you, or are we not going to go through that process? Is it going to be followed or not?
And tomorrow at the grievance hearing, Jason Owens with the Rainwater Holton Sexton, who represents the Arkansas Counties Association, will be better to probably tell you about this. But under his, under the advice given to the judge by him, a new hire would occur if someone resigned or was terminated, and that would create an opening. All of the positions that Judge Wood came in with are instantaneous transfers, and therefore there is no open position that would require the posting. And so that is with advice of counsel, and I've had that conversation with him as recently as this morning to make sure and let him know that there were going to be a lot of questions about that.
So, Mr. Lester, you understand the questions that we have because you had this conversation with
Sure.
Rainwater and Holt. We didn't. And so my attitude is always, I pray and hope the success of the county, always. That is first and foremost, and all those who serve this county. But at this time, I do have questions that are not being answered, and because you can't answer them, I would like to amend the acceptance of this judge's report to remove the part of Mr. Lester, all due respect, until we get and I'm sincere, all due respect.
You said you haven't gotten questions answered. Have you contacted the judge to ask him these questions? I mean, there's a lot of people saying we don't have questions that have answered, and the judge and I have talked, and no one has asked the judge questions.
I'm sorry, I was sick right after Christmas, and I was out for 10 days.
I was just wondering if, because we hadn't had a question in our office.
I did ask, but I do. I mean, I hope your success, and I pray for your success. But I have questions, and if they can't be answered, because under the advice of counsel, you can't answer the questions, then I am saying, why don't we get Rainwater and Holt come over here and answer the questions on your behalf, because I want to support you. I do support the judge and his decisions. But I'm just saying at present, I would like to just strike this part until we have the answers and we can listen to both sides, because I think that's the right thing. We are asked to see both sides of the coin. But if you have answers to my questions right now,
and that was the answers
please.
that I'm given. Those are the answers that Mr. Owens is going to give, and I'm just reiterating that
okay,
that wasn't just
can you go over
from
that
us.
just one? And I'm not
Sure.
don't mean to be combative, and I have
want you to have those,
questions.
so-
Sure.
Because the best way I can support you is to have these questions answered, because when I hear questions from my constituents, I don't have answers.
Sure.
I want answers so that way I can defend the decisions and support it. Do you understand?
I understand, and I'll give you those answers.
Okay.
Amendment 55 to the Constitution gives the judge the authority to hire all county employees unless they are hired by another elected official. So in other words, the county judge cannot hire prosecutors that are in Mr. Durrett's office. That discretion lies solely with him. Any county employee that is not hired by another elected official, the only authority in the state to make those hirings is the county judge. With that being said, when these positions, any of the positions that were not rehired, their transfer was an instantaneous. It occurred. Every one of the new members of Judge Wood's executive committee, the people that he brought in, they officially took office and became that position at the same time that any people that were rehired, their hiring or their employment began anew. And so it was at the same time that he took office, that's the same time that this happened. They were not open positions that are contemplated. I talked to Mr. Owens, and he has stated that this is a very common thing. This happens all around the state. This is not anything new to Washington County.
Okay, could you really nail that one down, that we don't have to, what you're saying is we don't have to advertise?
With the new administration, that is correct.
Okay. Is that
The county judge had the right to have those people.
To have those people.
To hire them, and they started the same time he did. The county judge cannot advertise positions prior to him taking office because he is not the county judge.
Right.
And the county judge gets to make those decisions and have those people ready and to take office and to start the exact same time he does, so that there's not a lapse in county government.
I understand that one. And I hear, and I think the people need to hear that, so that way they understand what's going on.
Sure.
And
And
with
we've
this being
gotten a lot of-
televised, I think this is fantastic because it's your
Right.
opportunity.
And we have been contacted by everybody in the media, and I've explained this several times to several people in the media, and they have asked, and we have told them the same thing time and time again. And we've even offered them that if they would like to even call Mr. Owens and talk to him, that they are more than welcome to do so. And I was telling someone yesterday that, as a matter of fact, he'll be here tomorrow, and that if you want to get some more information from him, since he's done this, if you want to hear it from him, then he will
I
be
was
here.
originally, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, my apologies. I was originally on the grievance committee. We got booked for 1,000 people catering tomorrow. So I'm going to be very busy. I won't be able to stop and talk and ask what's happening till about 9:30 tomorrow night.
Okay.
So if you
We'll
could
get you
let
this
me know
Get
on
you
these things. And like I said, I'm here to pray and hope for your success.
Sure, and I appreciate that.
But we have questions.
Absolutely.
And the best way we can is ask them openly and publicly. And does Amendment 55 say that about the transitional team? Is that included in Amendment 55, or what is that included in?
Amendment 55 just says that
The hiring-
all employees that all county employees are hired by the judge, except those who are hired by another elected official. That's
all that-
Amendment 55, yes.
Okay.
Let me get Justice
Thank
Munson
you.
first, and then we'll come to you. Thank you, Justice Zaki.
Thank you for
Justice
your time.
Munson.
Well, if my memory serves me properly, perhaps to help, excuse me, help Justice Zaki a little bit, because she wasn't here. Steve Zaga was hired because Mr. Butler retired. It wasn't a part of this biennium thing. So he was a new hire. And I don't recall us approving him. We approved his salary. The judge hired him, and we approved the number that he was to be paid, just like we did when they hired John at IT. We approved his salary. So I think that's the difference, like Mr. Ball was talking. You've got somebody who's already working, gets fired. That's totally different than the biennium.
So the follow-up question is then, is the salary that we approved for Mr. Zaga in the budget last year, is that just rolled over into his salary? We approved the county attorney's salary, so that is his salary at an increase, or is it a base that we have?
That would have been the most that the county could have, I believe. That's the cap.
That was the
And my
cap.
salary is actually less than what y'all approved.
Okay, I've just, because
Yeah,
that, he brought up the salary was processed, okay. Thank you for
That
that
is an
clarification.
important part
Thank
of
you,
it.
J.P. Levinstrom.
Because he did come in slightly less than Mr. Zaga was making.
Okay,
Justice Dennis,
Thank you, Judge.
thank you,
and
J.P.
then I'll get you, Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Were the thing about the county judge, or the county attorney serves all the departments and all the department heads. Were all the department heads in consultation with you on choosing not to use Zaga again?
No.
So that was purely your decision, not, but the county attorney serves all the different ones, so wouldn't they have a voice in the?
No.
They don't have a voice?
I mean, they can visit with, but, you know, it's my call.
Okay. Common sense to me just means that since 5 of yous, well, then 5
Sure.
would have a decision. That's all.
Sure.
And then the second part, was Zega interviewed for the job
Yes.
or not? Was he interviewed for the
Yes.
job?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those were the questions I had.
Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. J.P. Ecke's points are well taken, I think, and I'm a little concerned that by including this approval of the hiring of the county attorney tonight, we are essentially coloring tomorrow's grievance hearing. And I'd like to ask our attorney if there's any compelling reason that that has to be included tonight. I would like for us to be able to go into the grievance hearing without any swaying background, if you will. And I'm not saying I have any preconceived ideas about how that hearing will go. I don't. I think it's important that we have an open mind. And I'm friends with both people, and if this could be delayed, I think it would help our grievance hearing to present a better.
Right, and
Thank
I,
you.
yes. No, I don't think that there's any compelling reason that it has to be done. Like the judge said, and we all looked this up, when Mr. Zega was hired, he was never confirmed by the Quorum Court, which is required by statute. And he still operated as the county attorney for 2 years. So I agree. There's nothing that says it has to be done at the first meeting, but the judge was just trying to get it done pursuant to the ordinance. So, but that is completely up to the court on that.
Thank you.
Then
That's
would-
all I have.
Give me one, Justice Ecke. Justice Pine.
I might have some concerns also, but on the other hand, one statement that's been made here, the committee, I might not be swayed, but there might be members of the committee be swayed if we don't approve Mr. Lester's or the county judge's request to bring on Brian Lester this evening. So either way, that's, might be moot, whether we do that or not. And I'm not opposed to, or I feel uncomfortable about not requesting what Judge Wood has asked us this evening. I'm sure that some of this is going to be decided in a court a little higher than ours. I'm not sure, but I might assume that it would be. I did have a request of Mr. Lester for probably not this evening, but tomorrow at the hearing. I'd like to see presented to us, maybe in on a sheet of paper, the definition of instantaneous transfer as it's been used in this situation. Where is the definition of instantaneous transfer in our Constitution or by ordinance or statute, something like that? Definitions are kind of inserted and scattered all throughout many of our ordinances, if there's, if people wonder. I just want to say I'm not going to be swayed by our going ahead and approving who our county attorney is this evening. If some other decision is made tomorrow or next week or next month or sometime in the next year. And I don't intend I personally don't intend for this to become some kind of a contentious issue that haunts us, the first part of anybody's term on this court. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Pine. Ms. Carly, do you have something?
I just had a question. I just wanted to make sure, Ms. Ecke, was your motion withdrawn? Were you withdrawing your motion? Because you made the motion, there was no
No, I
second.
made a motion to amend the judge's report, delaying the approval of Brian Lester as the county attorney until we have all the information.
But I just wasn't sure if there was a second. That's-
Yeah. Well, we had a motion, so.
We had a motion and then a motion to
And
amend.
then it was motion man. So we
Yes.
had to take care of the first motion first, right?
No, second motion.
All right. All right. Justice Cochran.
On the, if we need to vote on 13.1 as a whole, I need to abstain because of my relationship with Washington Regional Medical Center.
Justice Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. I wonder how many of y'all have gone to our handbook and read the definitions in that handbook. When this came up, I went online and read from the handbook. Page 6, I think it's under C, under page 6, on page 6. It clearly says that that's biennium. I can't quote the precise comments to you, but it clearly says, okay, here it is. Thank you, Daniel. All employees are at-will employees. That's part of it. And it goes right on to say that the judge has the authority to appoint, anytime there's a new judge coming in on even years, that he has the authority to hire new people for those positions. Their employment terminates on the 31st of December, and January 1, the judge has the authority to bring somebody new in. Guys, it's really simple. It's right here. It is a prominent part of the handbook on page 6. So if you'll please go and read that, I think that a lot of these concerns will disappear. You know, I think the paper showed up with a comment I made that I was sorry to see some of these folks go. I like the people. I thought they were nice people, and I thought they were working hard to do a good job. But the authority of the judge is very well pointed out on that page, and I wish everybody would go and read it before we make this thing a big contentious issue. Thank you.
Justice Assery.
Thank you very much, Judge. The question I've been asked several times is that how does JSAP come into all of this? And what I mean by that is that for certain positions, there are certain qualifications that people have to have. And I'm just curious how all that lines up and how that process was gone through. And I've been asked many times by lots of people that are concerned about some of the people that you put into office. And again, I'm just like Ms. Ecke. I'm absolutely here to support and to do all I can to make you successful and the county successful. But that's a concern that I have, and if maybe that could be addressed tonight, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
As far as the county attorney's job is concerned, JSAP does not come in at all.
Justice Patterson.
Thank you, Judge. I had several people ask me, and just tell them it's in the book. I'm sure it's in the book because they put it in there when they wrote the book. And if you don't believe it, just go get your copy and read it. It's very simple. Much is required of some jobs that's not required of other jobs. Tomorrow at noon, somebody's going to lose a job and another guy's going to get a job. And it's real simple to me because somebody has to take the reins and be in control of, like you're in control of Washington County, Arkansas. Trump will be in control of the country. And somebody else will be in control of wherever their job is. The guys that are carrying around with the deals clamped on their arm, they probably won't have a job tomorrow night. Somebody else will have that job. A lot of things change. And it's in the book, and I mean, to me, it's just real simple. I mean, how else you gonna do it? You can't sit down and debate it, you know, because when you was sworn in, it was probably midnight. And then you turned around, if you'd had to swear anybody in, then it'd been right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Patterson. Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I'm concerned that we are, in a sense, preempting the grievance committee meeting tomorrow night by statements that are made here tonight, and I feel like we owe it to the person filing the grievance to go to that meeting with sort of an open mind. I would like to first raise a point of order about what's happened with J.P. Ecke's motion to amend the original motion, which I tried to second, but I don't know if we were being recognized or not. And if I could have an answer to that first, where do we stand with the motion to amend?
The motion to amend and your second, or, sorry. The motion to amend and your second will be the first thing that will be voted on before anything else. But at this point, we were still in the conversation or the discussion piece. But that is,
Okay.
those are the pending issues right now.
Well, let me back up then, because I would like to withdraw my second. I feel like I shouldn't have done that because I'm on the Personnel Committee that is hearing the grievance tomorrow. And it was an error on my part to have seconded the motion, so let me withdraw my motion, my second. Thank you.
Justice Lundstrom. Thank you, Justice Madison.
Wouldn't I have to accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion?
Because you had it first.
I made the motion to adopt 13-1 as drafted. It was seconded. She made a motion to amend my motion, and I wouldn't accept it as a friendly amendment. But now the second's been withdrawn, so we may have to start over again, but anyway. thank you.
One final comment.
Just sure.
I promise and I pledge to play respectfully and supportively and lock arms with the JPs around here and move forward in a good, positive manner that will influence Washington County. I just had questions, and I felt this was the opportunity to answer the questions. So I hope, Mr. Lester, with all due respect, there was no offense, because no offense was meant or intended. I am not undermining the judge's decisions. I texted him. I said, those are your decisions. I support you like you support your decisions, and I mean that honestly and openly. But this is an opportunity to ask questions. And the timing of it, it's just the timing of it with that tomorrow. If we had the grievance hearing back at the 12th, then this could move forward with a resounding yay. You know what I'm saying? But because of that happening tomorrow, the timing of it just didn't seem appropriate.
And it couldn't have moved forward before this meeting because the committees, you haven't approved the committees and the committee members. And so there technically was no personnel committee or chair or vice chair or anything like that. But yes,
I just wanted that to be in the record and understood in all honesty.
Sure. And we make sure Attorney Owens has your information so you can follow up with him if you have any additional questions.
And if it pleases the rest of the justices, I will withdraw my amendment. That way we could just vote for the judge's report. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Justice Ecke. That's all another hand somewhere. Justice Madison.
I have a point of order. We don't have a second now to the motion since I've withdrawn mine, so we shouldn't be discussing.
I just withdrew the amendment.
I understand that, but we still have the original motion made by J.P. Lundstrom without a second.
It was
No, it was seconded.
Okay, sorry.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. We will go voice vote. So all in favor of the motion, that's the vote with aye?
I'd like to be recorded as abstaining because of the...
All in favor, aye? Roll call. Ms. Carley?
Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison. Joe Kiklak.
Abstain.
Roddy Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joe Maxwell. Joe Patterson.
Yes.
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
It's approved.
Excellent, thank you. Item number 14, Justice Pond.
Mr. Lester, could you read 14.1?
Yes. 14.1 is an ordinance authorizing the county judge to enter into a contract for services with the Association of Arkansas Counties.
Do we, and I do have a question, are we pressed for time on this ordinance? Do we need to do?
You want to suspend?
Yes, this is one that we would need to pass tonight.
Move to
Suspend?
suspend the rules and read by second time by title only.
Second.
Counsel?
An ordinance authorizing the county judge to enter into a contract for services with the Association of Arkansas Counties.
We need to suspend one more time.
Did we vote on that?
After the third
One
reading.
more suspension.
Did we vote on the suspension? Move to suspend the rules a third time and read by title only.
Second.
An ordinance authorizing the county judge to enter into a contract for services with the Association of Arkansas Counties.
Any public comments?
Move to pass, but we do need to have public comment.
So
Second.
let's go with roll calls. Ms. Carly?
I got a point of order. Well, sometimes I get confused on this, though. Aren't we supposed to vote when we make a motion to suspend the rules before you read it
Yes,
by title?
that's correct.
We got to vote to,
You
suspend
suspend
the
all
rules.
three. Yes.
okay, all right.
All right. So it's been suspended 3 times. All in, so it's
To
been.
suspend the rules.
Can we go ahead and take a vote on that then?
To suspend the rules.
To suspend the rules. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Ms. Carly, let's do the roll call to go ahead and accept the, public comments, right? Any public comments?
Would
Yes, Justice Conklin.
we not need to vote for each suspension of the rules?
Yes.
So essentially,
Okay.
we've suspended the rules for the first reading. Right, so we need to do a
Okay,
second
so
and
the
third.
Can we back up and vote on that first suspension?
Okay, go, are you making that suspension?
Yeah,
All right.
I made the motion that we suspend the rules and read by title only a second time, but we didn't vote
Vote for
to
it.
approve
Okay.
my motion to.
On the first one.
Suspend the rules. We're trying to make
So it's
this
been moved
legal.
and properly second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we got that one down.
Okay, now,
Now need to
are we up now?
Third reading.
Third read, right here.
Did we do enough, did we do enough?
We gotta do
votes?
one more.
Technically, technically, the rules had been suspended on reading by title only for the meeting, so that was okay, but you are correct on the suspension of the second and suspension of the third reading would need to be voted. I'll read the title only for the third time. An ordinance authorizing the county judge to enter into a contract for services with the Association of Arkansas Counties.
All right.
Okay, move to pass. If we don't
It's
need to
been
vote
moved,
on any
probably
more
second.
suspensions.
Moved and properly second.
I
All in
lost
favor?
Or no, roll call.
Aye. Okay. We do a roll call on this one? Oh, the public comments. Here we go. Public comments for the third time. No. Public comments are Ms. Carly.
Daniel Balls? Yes. Harvey Bowman? Yes. Rick Cochran?
Yes.
Robert Dennis?
Yes.
Lisa Eki?
Yes.
Ann Harbison? Joe Kicklack?
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd?
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom?
Yes.
Eva Madison? Sue Madison? Joe Maxwell? Joe Patterson?
Yes.
Butch Pond?
Yes.
Bill Ussery?
Yes.
This ordinance is passed.
Excellent. Okay, Justice Pond, item number 15.
15.1, but before we get started on this one, I'm gonna ask who's on first.
Well, there's no suspensions on this one, so you don't
All
have
right.
any suspensions on this
All
one.
right, we don't
So
have,
you
this is
good.
an
Second.
appropriation ordinance, so we don't have to do
That's
anything.
correct. That's
And
correct.
so, Mr. Lester, could you,
I'll read the title. An ordinance anticipating revenues totaling $2,433,878 in various funds and appropriating $2,433,878 from various funds to various budget line items for 2017.
thank you, sir. I move to pass 15.1.
It's been moved and properly second. We have public comment. Ms. Farber? Director
Never mind,
Farber?
sorry. Nope, I'm good.
Okay. It's been moved properly second.
Court comment?
Any court comments? Director Farber, you good? Okay. You, Ms. Carly with the roll call?
Daniel Balls? Yes. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran.
Yes.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Eki. Ann Harbison. Joe Kuklat.
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom. Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
This ordinance is adopted.
Excellent, excellent. Item 16, Justice Pine.
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Lester, could
Yes.
you read 16.1, please?
An ordinance appropriating the amount of $998,111 from the general fund to the assessor's budget for 2017.
Move to pass 16.1, and this one does not
No
need
suspension.
any suspension.
Oh, so we got a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly second. Any court discussion? Public comment? All right. Roll call, Ms. Carly?
Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Eki.
Yes.
Ann Harbison. Joe Kuklat.
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
This ordinance is adopted.
Excellent. All righty, coming to the wire. Justice Maxwell, did he make it in? No. Someone want to
I
pick up
I
his
would-
ordinance? You'll grab that one?
I'll take it.
Okay. Item 17, Justice Pine.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lester, and this one's a law, or emergency, so it has to have a certain number of votes.
Yes, this one requires 10 votes to carry.
Okay.
It's an emergency ordinance. An emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Move to pass 17.1.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any other questions? All in favor? Oh, we
Public comment.
got public comment. Anyone? Court? All right, Mr. Carly, roll call.
Daniel Balls. Harvey Bowman. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis. Lisa Eki. Ann Harbison. Joe Kuklat.
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom. Eva Madison. Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell. Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Bill Ussery.
Yes.
This ordinance is adopted.
Great. Other business, number 18, other business. Justice Balls.
Thank you, Judge. I had a question. I'm going to take us back where we were talking about a minute ago, because I've had a lot of questions from constituents about the positions that were filled. And I'm not going to argue the fact that you can hire who you want to, because you can. What some of my constituents are bothered by were some of the rules apparently some other people were reading our county handbook, as far as employee handbook, of jobs need to be posted for 5 days, they need to be open for 5 days, they need to be listed on the Arkansas Employment Security Department website, and are the people qualified for the positions. I don't determine that, but I guess my question is, if the jobs are never open, and that's why we didn't have to follow the ordinances, I guess I'm still a little confused on, we have ordinances and policies in place to protect the county against discrimination, hiring, and EEOC requirements. So why do we have these in place if we're not required to follow them? And what can we do as a quorum court to make sure that as a county, all of our elected officials do follow the rules and hiring practices so that we don't get into a situation? Because somebody brought up to me, and we've heard it, we could be in violation of some EEOC requirements with federal grants, and we get, I think, around $1 million a year in federal grants. I want to make sure we don't run into a situation to where we've violated a federal law and we're out $1 million in grants, and then we're having to cut budgets because we didn't follow a particular law that's out there somewhere. So I guess my question is, what takes precedent? Is it our employee handbook, state law? If it's the state law, why do we have an employee handbook and ordinances? I've got a lot of questions that people are asking me, and I haven't called you because I think this is actually the proper setting to have that discussion. So if you could help me out, because I know that it's been said we didn't have to post them because they were never open, but they were open. And so I don't understand why we didn't follow our county ordinances to hire the positions. And did we follow the rules on making sure that people are qualified for certain positions? For instance, the building and grounds, that's a pretty big job. It's probably it's probably the second largest budget you have. So I just want to make sure that we're putting the qualified people in these positions so that the county runs smooth.
Go ahead.
My suggestion, my advice would be for us to get someone with the Arkansas Association of Counties to come and speak. And then the next thing would be to consider whether or not this quorum court needs to amend some of the ordinances or change the ordinance in any way if that's the feeling of the court, and to get rid of any of the ambiguities.
Because that would be state. I mean, we're not the only county that has whatever so.
I understand that.
Okay.
But I just don't want us to get into a situation, and I know that you did your research, and I appreciate you doing that. I don't want us to get into a situation where we lose a grant for our juvenile court. That's a 2-year grant. And so I don't know if our ordinances were followed correctly and if those particular people are in their positions legally at the moment. And I don't know if anybody else is interested in having that conversation tonight. That's my concern is, are those people legally in those positions? And if they're not, what do we do if they are not so that we can get them in those positions correctly?
Any others? Justice Bowman.
Judge Wood, we've gone on here for probably 30 minutes or more discussing the situation. I think it has been discussed. And if we go back to the handbook again and read the doggone handbook, it's very clear, page 6, item C. Please go and read that, and I think that answers all these questions. Thank you.
Justice Sri.
I have some of the same concerns, and if we need to change our ordinances, if we need to change them so that, because there does seem to be some real ambiguities, because we have JSAP, which very clearly says the qualifications people have to have for those positions. And if we need to, what we need to do is we need to figure out what we can do to fix this so that we're sure that we're all on the same page, because, man, I've been bombarded by people asking these questions, and I agree with Justice Balls. This is the place to take care of those things and kind of sort them out and make sure that we're all on the same page, doing the best we can for the people of the county and making sure that we're legally where we need to be. And that's a concern of mine, and I'm just trying to, if we could figure out, and I'm asking you, Mr. Lester, if you could do the research and make sure that we are where we need to be, and if we're not, what we need to do to get there. I would appreciate if you'd do that for us.
I'll do that. I have a meeting with Mr. Owens tomorrow morning at 8:30, and I will talk to him about this and talk to him about coming and speaking to the court and us addressing this issue and getting some guidance.
Justice Zaki.
That's a grant that if you would investigate that, didn't want to just discuss.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's specifically.
Okay. But yes, I will talk to him tomorrow morning and try to get him here for a meeting of this court to answer any questions.
That would be.
Anyone else? Justice Balls.
Thank you, sir. To my seatmate's point of reading the handbook, it's in the handbook. All county positions must remain open for a minimum of 5 working days before hiring. All county positions will be listed with the Arkansas Employment Security Department and posted on the web page. They're there. So I did read it, and they're there. So it just seems to be some conflicting accounts of what can happen, and I think as a court we need to really think about the county judge can hire whoever he wants, but there's also there's rules and policies and procedures that go into that. They have to be qualified. You have to go through a procedure to do that. And if we're okay with not following those, I guess that's the prerogative of our court, but I think we need to look at this. And, somebody even asked me, well, why don't you just pay for those positions until things are done correctly. I don't know if we want to take it that far. I don't think that's what we need to do, but I'm just worried. I just don't want us to lose money. I don't want us to get into lawsuits. We just got out of many, many lawsuits. We all saw what that was. So I just want us to make sure that we're doing this correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Balls. Justice Cochran.
Thank you, Judge. Off on another subject, this makes 3 years in a row that we've had $1 million surprise on our reserves. And here it is, January 17th, 19th. Already $1 million surprise. I know I harped about our reserves all through the budget process. I told you so. I knew it was going to come. I didn't know what it'd be. It happens every year. So we really, in our budget process this year, need to take care of this reserves. We're at $5.2 million. That's dangerous. Thank you, Judge.
Appreciate that, Justice Cochran. Justice Lundstrom.
I hate to do this, but I want to make one more little comment on this hiring deal. Some of these ordinances and so forth are dealing with different levels of hiring and firing and what have you. This biennium deal is totally separate. It goes all the way through government. Donald Trump is hiring like 4,000 people. It's one of the risks of going to work for any level of government, because this way almost every one of them work. At the end of the biennium or at the end of whatever period it is, you're just automatically terminated. And the judge or the president or whoever has the authority to either rehire or not rehire. It goes all the way through government. But it's in that one particular situation. Doesn't cover everybody that's hired and fired and so forth. And I don't want to assume that we're not looking into these people's abilities. My guess is that Mr. Lester has passed the bar examination in the state of Arkansas. You know, I think he's probably eminently qualified to do the job he's hired to do. I think Mr. Wood has interviewed and looked at these people's backgrounds and qualifications and so forth before putting them in these positions. So I appreciate some of Mr. Ball's comments, though, too. We do need to have a real clear-cut consensus on the thing so we know exactly where we are. But I don't have a real problem with this issue as it's in the handbook either. Thank you, Judge.
Go to Justice Bowman and then come to the county attorney.
Judge, I'd like for you to instruct our attorney, after his discussion with the attorney from the council of the Association of Counties, that he might draft a direction for us on this and email us a copy of his report as soon as possible. That way we can go ahead and have that before we might arrange to have another quorum court meeting or whatever. So if he just go ahead and send us his perspective on this situation, I think it'd be very helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I'll be happy to do that. Another issue that for the court to consider is technically under the handbook, at the end of every even year, the county should be posting all county jobs, which means all county jobs are posted and there has to be, if there are multiple people, there has to be at least 3 interviews. And so that's what you're kind of looking at, is re-interviewing for every single county job based upon your policy, because technically they end. And that's another issue that was brought to my attention by Mr. Owens. But I will have this conversation with him, and I will have a report and a memo to get out to the court.
Points made. Justice Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Any preliminaries that we need to know about tomorrow's meeting?
I think it's going to be more of this, again, the consistency of...
I just never have set in on
Sure.
it, so...
The only thing...
Any housekeeping things that you
Well,
need to tell
so
us?
the committee, before the grievance hearing actually begins, the committee will need to vote on a chair and a vice chair to get that started. And then any other procedural things, we will prepare a packet of information to kind of let you know how it proceeds after that. Okay.
Judge, I have one quick question.
Justice Balls, and then we'll come to you, Justice Lundstrom.
I'm filling in tomorrow. I'm not on the personnel committee. Should I be voting on, I don't think I would be voting for the chair and vice chair. Or are we just voting tomorrow? Are they voting tomorrow like going forward for the chair, vice chair, or just for that meeting?
Whose chair are you taking? Oh, Eckes?
Yes, sir.
Justice Eckes? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Not the chair. They voted, they just. Okay,
Yeah, just for
Got it.
that, just for
Just
the
for that
hearing
one.
tomorrow. Yes, sir.
sure.
I would like to make a request that the personnel chairman and vice chairman for the grievance committee just be for that one time.
Okay.
And perhaps we can do this at our next personnel meeting. This would be the second term that I've served on it, and personnel is very important to me. And that would just be an indulgence of those that are on the committee.
And I think that's something that the committee will have to take up itself tomorrow, because technically y'all govern yourself.
Yep.
The committees do.
I'd greatly appreciate it. I've got 1,000 people to feed tomorrow. Anybody have,
You gonna fill in?
have an extra apron?
Excellent, thank you. And Justice Marshall, I'm sorry.
I just wonder if this meeting tomorrow night is a closed executive meeting, or is it open to all the JPs? I know we don't vote, but I've attended them before.
Pursuant to Arkansas statute, the meeting can be closed if it deals with personnel matter, closed to the public, and just be the committee and the grievance, the person, Mr. Zaga. However, if Mr. Zaga wants that open to the public, he has a right to ask for that be open. After the grievance, after all the information is presented and it comes time to vote, the committee can then go into an executive session to discuss anything, just those members of the committee. However, any vote that occurs will have to occur in public.
Okay, what we need to know is, can JP sit at this meeting or not?
Like I said, it
Tomorrow
depends
night.
on if the committee closes the meeting.
Okay, so you show up, and if they close the meeting, then you go home.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
So, that's what I want to know. It'd be nice, maybe if we could know that before we drive 30 miles to get here.
Okay.
But, it may not be but I've attended the grievance committees before, and there's no problem with it.
We'll do some search in the morning, and then we can maybe push a note out to
Yeah,
all
maybe
the
throw an
justices.
email out or something.
Yeah.
Everybody, maybe save some travel.
As far as the JPs, you can attend, yes. I'm sorry, I was thinking
Yeah,
the
not to vote,
public.
just attend.
Yeah, the public, the committee can close it to the public. I don't think the committee can close it to all the JPs.
Okay,
But to the,
that's
but public. I'm sorry.
Justice Pine?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the only part that's not closed to the public, and that would be the press included, would go into executive session to discuss the personnel issues of it. In other words, and then we come back out and vote up or down on what we decided to do. Is that kind of?
Just a second.
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past.
That's what we've done. Okay.
What your committee does.
We do a double
You're still
check.
going to have the whole court vote on it at some point in time if it goes far.
So, this question was posed to me, and it's Arkansas Code annotated 1414-109, public meetings, section under A2, a meeting or part of a meeting which involves or affects the employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, dismissal, or resignation of a county government official or employee need not be open to the public unless the local government officer or employee requests a public meeting. So it doesn't have to be open to the public. And so if Mr. Zaga were to come in and say, I don't want this open to the public, I just want this grievance hearing in front of the grievance committee, then it will be closed to the public. But if that is not Mr. Zaga's desire, if he wants this open to the public, he has a right to have this meeting open to the public. Then and only then can the committee meet in an executive session to discuss, but a vote thereafter would have to occur, and it has to occur in public. Does that help a little bit? Okay, you're welcome.
Good. Any other questions? Any other comments? No other business? I definitely would entertain a motion to adjourn. But before we adjourn, let me say this. How was your first meeting? How was your first meeting? Thank the public again as well. We got a motion. I can't wait. 12 more to go. Thank you guys very much. We got a motion to adjourn. Oh, go ahead, Justice Bowman.
You know what? We had Karen to serve this court for like 30 years. I would sure like us to ask that you write a letter of appreciation to her for 30 years of fabulous service. I thought she did a terrific job for us.
Excellent.
So, all
Appreciate
right.
it. Very good, very good. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting